the combo. Then I mean,
All
as of
right.
right now, really with Elon Musk, funny enough, and all this stuff with him in the government. Like I think we were talking about it last time too. How we made a joke saying that you would think Elon Musk literally just sits at his desk all day and tweets with the amount of stuff, how involved this guy is now, especially with politics and just him tweeting in general. He's a conspiracy theorist now and all this.
Yeah.
I think it's really interesting how he's basically in the government now. What was the thing that Trump did exactly that put him in the government to where Doge is now going to be there? Didn't he do something? And now there's all this controversy about, oh well, Musk isn't, no one elected him and all that stuff.
Yeah. He gave him like a position. I forgot the actual position. I wish I didn't forget, but he gave him like a position within the government, kind of like what he did for RFK Jr. He gave him a position in, even though RFK at first was like on the Democrat side, he was pushing all this like free speech and all the things you would want to hear. And then as soon as like Trump got elected, he just switched up completely. Um, and now he's talking about like, because RFK Jr. was like about like the vaccine, like the jabs. Like he was talking about like
Yeah,
jabs, and we shouldn't force people to take this, the X, Y, and Z. And then now that he's working with Trump, he's like, well, I'm just gonna go and follow whatever the CDC says. So you see, these politicians are all a fraud. All of them are frauds. And Elon Musk, man, that's the biggest fraud of them all.
what's really crazy is the trust that the right wing person, let's call him, has in Musk. And people will say the argument, well, no one elected George Soros or anyone, which I mean that's true. It's a valid argument, but the point is none of these
Right.
people should be in government. People can't even see a big picture and see that government shouldn't exist in the first place. But I mean,
Yeah.
we're not even but that's the issue, dude. Is like we're not even there as a humanity. Like, there's very little people who understand that a government shouldn't exist in the first place. Because
Right.
they think they always go to the right wing type thinking where it's like, okay, well, no, we need government, just less government, or less corporations, or less plutocracy and all that stuff. But like,
Hmm.
what is that we see, like especially in modern politics? They don't even hide it. Like it is plutocracy. They have the rich basically running and controlling everything.
Hmm.
And the thing with Elon Musk is this whole thing with Doge, and I think you probably know like where this is all headed, but they basically want the AI being the government. They basically want the computers running everything. It's kind of like what Klaus Schwab said at the World Economic Forum a while back. I'm sure you heard it, where he's like,
Yeah.
"Oh, we're no longer going to have elections where it's going to be AI just predicting it or already saying what the people want."
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
and he was
And
speaking about this.
yeah, he says by
And
2030.
I think it also ties in with the plane crashes too, like we were just speaking about before we started. Is I think they want AI running the planes, the vehicles, just everything. They basically want it integrated in our lives completely.
Yeah, I mean, you go to certain cities and you see cars driving themselves. It's like they've already implemented self-driving cars and vehicles. I think in California they have the Uber Eats or DoorDash, where the robot delivers the food to your door. Like
Do they?
an it's like a robot cart, like just riding around the streets, like delivering food. Like that's crazy, bro. It's like they one is not only is it getting rid of jobs, but it's creating less interactions with humans. And it's like it's all part of their scheme and agenda. And Elon Musk is like the forefront of what that agenda is. And
Yeah.
people like look at this guy as like some great thinker and some great inventor. The dude's a total fraud. Like I'm
Dude,
telling you,
the
he
one thing, even if people don't like him, I don't mean to cut you off, but they're always gonna
yeah,
say he's a businessman. He's a
yeah,
great
yeah,
businessman. That
yeah,
might not be today, yeah.
yeah. I
Yeah.
say the same thing about Trump. Like I'm like, yeah, all Trump's businesses have failed. Like 90% of his businesses failed. Elon Musk, I guarantee you, he's not the owner of any of the companies that he says he runs. Like, there's no way that guy who can't even formulate a sentence and spends all his time playing video games. There's no way he's like the CEO of all these companies. Like it's not possible.
Yeah, he's just a forefront guy. You know,
Yeah,
he's obviously born into it. He's a bloodline of someone very high up in
yeah,
the occult and all that stuff, and he's just the forefront. I think it's whatever demons he's been summoning. That's why the AI is just getting to where it's at right now,
yeah, yeah.
and and that's what I yeah. So do you think I'm on track with what I was saying before of how this is basically the goal of what they're doing right now with Elon Musk and even the plane crashes, stuff like that, is they're trying to just completely implement AI. Would you say that's accurate?
Yeah, I mean, you had Claude Schwab say 2030 you'll own nothing, be happy. So it's like they're using these small events to, well, they're not really small events, they're kind of major events to like condition people to be in that way of thinking. Like, oh well, maybe we do need surveillance around us all the time. Maybe we need AI to be in our homes and in our faces all around so we can be more protected. But the thing is, people don't understand is the systems that control AI, the people who control AI, they're bad people. They're evil people. These are sick, manipulative people who would do anything for power. And that's what the American people don't understand is like, yeah, it's cool if you want to have this AI and technology, but who's behind it? Who's controlling it?
Right.
That's the problem.
They think because it's coming from Trump and Musk and anyone who talks like a normal person almost at this point by just simply saying, a man's a man and all that stuff. And, they trust you,
Yeah.
if you're on the right. And, with that's, and we've spoken about this, I think, in the first deep dive that we did, was that the reason why they put Trump in office is because they need the person who's more conservative, who's Christian, especially, who's religious or whatever. They need them to be on board with the technocracy and the agenda because the liberals, they've already proven that they will most likely go along with whatever it is without question. But the conservatives are the ones now who need to get worked, and they are getting worked. It's
Mhm.
crazy actually to see it happen. I mean, the stuff on X, man, like it drives me crazy, and it's not even just like the MAGA people that I see, like because there'll be some bigger truth accounts, whatever.
Yeah.
It's just they always think that if you criticize the right, that all of a sudden you're a liberal, and
Right.
what the lesser of two evils, the typical sheeple saying or whatever.
Yeah.
But something with truthers too. It's like these other truthers. Mind you, I don't know who these people are. It's like all these anonymous accounts, kind of like that Andrea Lynn account I showed you
Mm-hmm.
a few weeks back.
Yeah. And I saw her tweet pop up on my timeline the other day.
Did you really?
Yeah, I was like, oh look, there's
She's
that
got
chick
like she's
again.
got like almost 50,000 followers now. It's crazy.
Yeah, and she's saying like the real shit too. I'm like, wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, but it's all right, like about Trump, right, and about COVID and all that stuff,
Yeah,
politics, right?
it's all the stuff as a truth seeker you would want to hear.
Yeah. So, and then like I'll have people often say to me on X, right, if I really start, my account will get attention if I start replying on threads and all that stuff. I mean, it's
Yeah,
hard to do. It's hard to like respond to stuff and like
yeah.
because I don't know. It's a dramatic X. You know what I mean?
I block anybody I don't follow. I block all their interactions. I don't have time to hear it.
Oh, okay, you do. Okay, yeah. 'Cause someone like
Yeah.
I remember I said like, does anyone want to stream or whatever? And this dude who I follow, I don't know who he is because mind you, that's how most of these people are. Like they don't have a link to anything. They just like have an X account and like not even a picture of them. 90% of the time, it's
Yeah,
like a picture of a cat or something,
yeah. It's like a bot or some shit.
And yeah, there's big. Oh, I won't waste my time. I don't know what it is, but like with this too cool mentality, I just made a video about it too. It's like the truthers, like they seem on X especially seem to have this too cool mentality for me where it's
Hmm.
like, oh, I'm not gonna waste my time with you. It's like, hey, what do you mean? And it's like, well, it's like, well, I'm not part of your league or whatever. I'm like, because we don't get anything accomplished as truthers because you have one little disagreement and you're not never gonna agree about like with everything on everything,
Right,
every about everything with someone. You know what I'm saying? So
right.
I don't know. It's just then they just block you, and then you're cut out. And but what I'm saying is like you can't do this in person if you're actually like trying to talk. Like you
Yeah,
can't just block someone and they're cut out forever. So
Right.
I mean, I don't know. Like that's just a frustration I've been having, especially at other truthers, because I feel like and mind you, I've been following this person. We haven't really interacted much, but they interacted with my tweet, and they have a much bigger following than me.
Hmm.
But it's like I don't understand like what's different that we believe. You know what I'm saying? Based on what I see them saying. You know,
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's a lot of people are like fake truthers as well. It's like
and
some
that's
people.
another thing too. Yeah, I feel like there's just a market for it now at this point,
Hmm.
or
Yeah.
there's bots. It's either someone's trying to make money, or there's the bots that are trying to mislead you and all that
Yeah.
stuff. You
Yeah.
know?
I think there's a lot of bots on X and Twitter, whatever you want to call it. I think most of them are bots because, like, if you look at the comments and then you look at their profiles, it's like it doesn't make sense. It doesn't even look like a real person who's behind the account, and all the comments they make are like, to cause like drama, to stir up like conversations and stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah.
It's
And
weird.
that's another thing too. Is like I try to speak on X even and social media the way
Mm,
I would in person. Like I don't like this tough guy act on it because it's easy, so easy to be a tough guy or whatever, talk crazy
right.
through a screen. But it's like, what if you get approached in person one day? It's like no. It's like you better like act professional, like in both scenarios. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you got to be respectful because if somebody approaches you, you get slapped in the mouth.
Right. Yes. So, and that, then again, but like all these truth accounts, right? It's like they're anonymous, so they have the tough guy act.
Yeah.
And another thing too is if you follow them for a while, you'll notice there'll probably be certain things that they keep touching on, which is misleading, like Jews, for example. That's the biggest thing for me with the truthers I follow. Well,
Yeah.
it's the Jews. Everything's the Jews. It's all the Jews. If you don't say it's the Jews, you probably work for Israel yourself, and all that stuff.
Right. Yeah, they love to blame the small caps. That's like a main focus on in these fake truth accounts. Like, yeah, we get it. Like, they are in charge of a lot, but it's also like other factions in the government. The Jesuits have a lot to do with who's running everything.
Yep.
I would say the Jesuits are more powerful than all the Jewish people. You know what I mean? Like, they have way more control and power than them. Um, just look at the Rothschilds, for example. The Rothschilds are considered a small cap family, but their whole family was made up by the Jesuits. Rothschild itself means red shield, which is the Jesuit logo. So it's like at the end of the day, it's like people should be pointing the finger at the Catholic Church and those religious orders. Like Israel itself is owned by the Catholic Church. It was created by the Catholic Church, and it's funded by the CIA, which is the Catholic Church. So it's like the truth community is so like misguided, and it's been like we point the finger at one group because it's popular to do so, but
Yeah.
there's no real truth in their arguments.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a little bit of truth, but a lot of it is like nonsense. So
Yeah. It's crazy how much the truth community has changed. I think I might have told you when I saw you in Jersey City, but I started waking up in 2017. That's like really when I started waking up, doing my own research, asking questions, and starting to
mhm,
wake up. By the time it was like 2019, like I was
yeah,
pretty like attuned to what was going on, but it was more from like that Christian background,
yeah,
which wasn't wrong. Most of the things, it's just like it's from that savior standpoint. Everything in the occult is bad, even though you probably know there's stuff in the occult that can be used for good,
right,
just like
yeah,
there could be a new world order that can be used for good. But it's
exactly.
really crazy how much it's changed because even just like back then, you were able to find stuff. That's one. It was much more easier to find
Hmm.
information and so-called conspiracy theories or whatever.
Yeah.
But it's like now it's like truth has almost become a little bit mainstream because if you were to talk about this stuff in 2019, even it's like way more people wouldn't be receptive to it. Then COVID came around, and it's
Mhm.
like once COVID kind of the mist kind of blew away after COVID, maybe a year or two, then it's
Yeah.
like oh, people are like wow, I got duped, this and that. Whoa, the government really is as corrupt as these conspiracy guys say. So there's like been this mass awakening,
Yeah.
and it's been hijacked in many ways. The truth community now with the
Yeah.
right way QAnon stuff, with the JQ stuff. And I'm
Hmm.
sure there's all sorts of other stuff. There's Antifa. That's like a far left, which I feel like that's not as big as Q. But
Yeah.
yeah, there's like even this one dude I think I was telling you about. He's telling me about foreign policy, but it was a Trump conspiracy.
Right.
I'm just like, what is this guy even saying? But yeah, it's been hijacked in many ways, and
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
hard
I
for
mean,
people to stay focused.
yeah. Like, you're right, because when COVID happened, a lot of people had a lot of time on their hands to just dig into information, and a lot of people did wake up. And so I kind of was grateful for COVID because it kind of slowed the world down and
Yeah, even though
allowed
that
us.
was a horrible time, like oh my goodness, bro, like
Yeah.
dude, after like a month of COVID, so I get by April of 2020, dude, I knew it was a lie, and I was trying to tell people. You can imagine how ridiculous I sounded all the way back then
Yeah.
and all that, but it's
Yeah.
crazy, dude, and like how
Yeah.
you dude, and this is also like important for truth. Is like, man, just stick it out because people, I'm telling you, like if they'll realize it, if what you're saying is true, and
Yeah.
they're somewhat level headed, and they'll, because my parents, like I told you, they're like, you're right about the COVID stuff, and like they didn't believe me at first. They were calling me selfish for not wanting to get the what,
Yeah.
you know. It,
Yeah.
so
A lot of
it's
people are programmed back then about that.
Yeah, and it's like my parents watch a lot of television. So what do you think? Of course, they're gonna listen to everything
Yep.
TV
Yep.
says. But anyway, not to get off topic, it's really interesting how it's changed a lot. The truth community.
Hmm.
I don't know if X was like as big back then with truth. Was it? Do you know? Like
Um.
2018 around there.
So, all right, I remember in high school, this was like 2013, 2012, and I had said, I tweeted something about like how the presidents are all controlled, like they're all puppets. And so many people I went to high school with, or like girls I knew in other high schools, they all got so offended at me, and they were like, "Oh, what do you don't know what you're talking about? You're dumb, this and that." So it's like I remember just like that at that time, like Twitter was pretty big. Like it was like basically Instagram, of today of that time, and a lot of people were like mad, upset, and mad with me at that time because I remember that 2012 was the Obama election, and I think Mitt Romney. So like a lot of people were
You said
like,
that back then. Wait, I think I've asked you this, but I don't remember. Like, how long have you been awake?
"Oh, I've been so." When 9/11 happened in 2001, I was like 5, and my grandpa, I would always remember this, man. My grandpa would tell me like, "Yeah, there's no way those buildings came down like just like that. Like the way those buildings came down, it was like a demolition style. Like if it really was gonna melt the beams, it would topple over, not drop down like so fast like that." So I remember as a kid, like my grandpa always like telling me that. He was like, "Yeah, it defines the laws of physics from how those fast those buildings came down." So he was always like hip to like something's off, and he was part of like a lot of back in New York. They had a lot of Black History things happening, and like movements and information. So he used to always like be around these black professors who used to talk about like truth. They're basically truth seekers back then, and my grandpa really woke me up like way back then. So like I was still, I was a kid, 5 years old when 9/11 happened. So I was still a kid, but like my mind was kind of like aware of things. And then by the time I got to like the sixth grade, which was like '09, like '09, '10, around that time, I was like telling people in my class, like, hey, like 9/11 was an inside job. Like, and I remember in like sixth grade, like everybody was like looking at me like I was crazy. They're like, yo, what are you talking about? I'm like, yo, look at the buildings. Like the way those buildings came down, it came down like a demolition. Like I would show people how if you go on YouTube and search a demolition of a building and 9/11, the buildings come down exactly the same way, and like people still will try to like deny it. They're like, "Oh well, the beams from the building were so heavily melted that the weight caused it." I'm like, you guys are not using your common sense. First of
Yeah,
all,
because
jet fuel.
there's all the debunked videos, the conspiracy theories. They watch those. That's why.
Yeah, I'm like, guys, you got to listen to what you're saying. The beams on that building were so strong and so thick. There is no way that the heat from jet fuels can melt those beams. And if it miraculously did, that building would slowly topple over itself. It would crumble real slow. The buildings came down in less than 8 seconds. It just dropped straight. And then you had a bunch of people who used to work in those buildings, like janitors. Right after 9/11, they would be like, hey, like there was strange rooms with a lot of boxes in there that we weren't allowed to go in and look at before 9/11 happened. A lot of janitors were coming out and say this, and then eventually they all got silenced and everything like that. But like there was so much evidence behind how 9/11 was an inside job. And then like something that I recently read about was how the actual footage of the plane coming in was actually fake. And a lot of people will deny that. They'll be like, "Oh, it can't be fake. You saw the plane go into the building." But if you look at the original 9/11 footage, the first time they had it live on TV, the plane was like flying to the building, and then as soon as it goes to the other side, like the nose of the plane just goes straight through to the other side, which is impossible. It literally can't do that. It should. And then when it did that, when the nose went to the other side, the screen cut black, and then it came back on. So a lot of people were saying how like that was probably like some type of CGI that had like messed up or something, because there's no way that plane can go straight through that building. Like people don't understand how thick a skyscraper building is and how dense it
Yeah.
is.
There's videos I've seen of I think I have it on my computer here of the towers exploding without planes. Like it
Right.
just looks like bombs going off. Like there's no
Exactly.
plane.
Exactly. So a lot of people think like there was actually just a missile that ran
And
into
dude, I'm
the
sure you saw the videos of pretty much everyone on the ground because dude, it's such a rabbit hole. 9/11. It's crazy how much of a rabbit hole 9/11 is. But
yeah.
there's videos that dude, everyone on the ground that day is saying bombs. No one was talking about an airplane. Everyone was saying
Exactly.
bombs were going off. Bombs were going off. This and that.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
it's like, dude, with the amount of evidence, especially because, dude, the powers that we don't care anymore. If you completely figure, if most people figure it out, it's like they got away with it. It's like it's been so long that like they
Yeah.
don't care what information is out there now about it. So
Yeah. And most
you know,
people still are gonna deny it.
yeah. And what is that called? Signal magic or something? When it's like they just expose themselves and tell you the truth, and you still don't believe it or whatever.
Yeah, yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy because, like, bro, those planes are like aluminum planes. Like, they're not even like metal. Like, those planes are really like thin. So you're telling me that little thin plane just goes straight into a metal building? Like, you get out of here, bro. like that is complete nonsense. So and then like the bombs coming out of the sides of the
Yeah.
building
I
before
want to
then.
try to find actually.
Yeah, man. 9/11 was a
Yeah, I want to see if I could
huge.
find the video on my computer.
Yeah. So going back to what your question was, how long have I been awake? I would say at least since '09, '08, '09. Even though I was still like, in the matrix to a certain extent. Like, I like sports, I played video games, and, I liked all the celebrities, you know what I mean? I was still somewhat in the matrix, but my mind was definitely like not opposed to outside thinking. If you came to me with like conspiracy theories talks back then when I was in middle school, I would listen to it. You know what I mean? I wouldn't just straight up deny it. Um, but as I started to get like older, like, let's say when YouTube started to really like come about, get really popular, I started digging in way more about like, cloning and all types of like Illuminati stuff. And then before like Donald Trump came to office, there used to be a lot of conspiracy channels on YouTube. Like there was so much information like before 2018, 2017. Like you can find just about any YouTube video on that platform about conspiracies, and it would come up. But now the
Yeah.
algorithms are so fried, like it's like you type in Illuminati, and then the first thing you see is like Fox
You see my
5 or
screen? See my screen by the way?
ABC. Huh?
Do you see my screen by the way? Or is it just
I'm,
me? I'm trying to
oh, hold
share
on.
a difference. I'm trying to share. Yeah. So
Okay.
this is the video of what we were just talking about. All right. How do you get this out of the way? Oh, there we go. Yeah, there you go. See, there's no
Yeah.
point.
Yeah, that was probably a missile or a bomb inside it, you know?
I had to be inside because
Yeah.
I'm sure you probably there was all this suspicious activity going on in the building. The weeks and days leading up to the event,
Hmm.
so they could have easily planted bombs in there.
Yeah, like all the like I said earlier, all the janitors that said there was floors that they weren't allowed to go in, and they just had a
Right?
bunch
Yeah,
of boxes stacked up there. And then after like a couple weeks after that, all the janitors were like silenced or randomly missing. Like
yeah.
it's
So
crazy, bro.
yeah, like this is like a 3 minute video of all different clips of that happening. But yeah, dude, this is what woke me up. I think I might have mentioned that in Jersey City, like in 2017. I don't even know why, dude. Like I've heard about it being a conspiracy, like
Hmm.
in high school and shit. But I never like looked into it. I just looked into it, and I was
Yeah,
like, oh, okay, yeah, this is definitely an inside job.
yeah,
Um, and I was like, what else can they get away with? And I went down the Hollywood rabbit hole and all that stuff, so on and so forth. So
or
yeah, I'd say you get curious and then you grow a love for the truth, and even though it hurts you, it freaks you the hell out at first. But
yeah. Even
sometimes you just want to know what's up. You
Yeah,
just gotta know.
for me, man, I've always been interested about like what was going on in the world. Like my mind has always been like, hey, like what's really happening on this planet? Like why are we here? Why are we alive? Like like what's the purpose of life? Like I've always been interested in those questions. So whenever I would like dig into this information, I never really got scared. I just got like more intrigued. Like when I found out about like like how they could be like cloning people, like, and that's the thing. Like, I don't know if cloning is 100% real, but I would say there's a good chance it could be real because of the fact that they can clone animals and sheeps and dogs and cats. Like, they can clone mammals. You don't think they can clone humans? Like, so I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure cloning is
Well,
is
let's say like
happening.
if they were to clone, let's say me or you, wouldn't like they would look exactly like us, but wouldn't they not have the same personality? Like they would be different. Isn't that
Yeah,
like what?
I would say so. You know what's crazy? You ever watch that show on well, it was on Hulu for a minute, but it comes from Marvel. It's about Nick Fury. He's like the guy, he Samuel Jackson, that's his character in Marvel, Nick Fury. And I forgot the name of the actual show, but it's like a branch off of all the Marvel movies, right? Like, Iron Man and, those type of movies, Thor. It's like in that universe. So in that show, they were talking about how like there's this alien species that comes to Earth, and they're like able to like clone a human. Like they can replicate their body, and then like they can transfer their consciousness into them. So all their memories and thoughts and behaviors become like gets wired into them, and they can become an alien. I mean, a human, but at any given moment they can switch back to like their reptilian like alien self. So I always thought like there has to be some type of truth in these type of shows. Like they got to be telling us something, you
Yeah,
know. And like if it is exactly like that or somewhat close to that, then I wouldn't doubt it that it's a real thing. Because who's to say we don't really know how far they've progressed in technology. If you look into like the Anunnaki theory, they literally talked about how the ancient I forgot what is his name, Thoth, like Thoth and all those like they were really demons. That's what they were. But the ancient Anunnaki, they would clone themselves into other people so they can live longer. They were talking like this was in their text, like on ancient cuneiform tablets way back then, how like they were clone themselves into other people to live longer. So who's to say like that ancient technology and secrets hasn't gotten passed down to today's generation? Like I
yeah,
firmly believe like there was a dark age Like if you think about like from like let's say 3 to 4 to 500 years ago, I would say there was a dark age. But before that, like let's say 1,000 years back and beyond that, I'm pretty sure like humanity was like super advanced. Like as far as like ancient Egyptians, um, Babylon and all these other ancient cultures, I think they were all advanced people. Like I think they had advanced technology. The reason why they had pyramids and they had all this gold and all this these minerals and stuff like that, they had to have some type of ancient knowledge about the universe and how to like you know create whatever energy, free energy. I think something happened where all of it got destroyed and like humanity had to like restart. Because think about like the flood story, how like there was like a washing away of society. Like I
Yeah,
feel like these things happen periodically on the planet. Like we get to a certain level of technological advancement and then something happens where it just restarts everything, you know? I believe there's truth to all of that. And the flood story is actually it's the Epic of Gilgamesh. That's where it comes from, and that's from ancient Babylon and uh, the Anunnaki theories too. It all connected with each other. So it's like there has to be truth in all that stuff, you know. Like that's why it's in the Bible. That's why it's in the cuneiform tablets, like the Epic of Gilgamesh. All these things have to be stemming from truth. You know, is it like is it like God is like he's allowing us to get like smart and then he sees us get too intelligent and corrupt and then he's like, all right, I'm gonna wash this shit away and restart anew. Is that what's going on? I don't know, but it seems like dark ages happen because of humanity's mistakes and we have to like restart somehow.
yeah. There was I'm not sure if I mentioned him before, but Kevin introduced me to a guy a while back named Justin Rosario. I think he's from. I
Mhm.
think he actually is from Teaneck.
Okay.
And he basically knew he would, if he was here right now, he would understand everything we're talking about.
I think
And
yeah. Uh,
he's really big on the aliens. He was a really big into aliens and all that stuff. That was like his big thing. And
mhm.
he would say, yeah, I think we descended from aliens. I remember because at this time I was more big in the Bible when I met him. I was more like a Christian, looking at it from that Christian religious perspective a lot, but he was like, "Oh yeah, I think Jesus Christ was an alien," and like
Yeah.
I did not get what he meant at that time, but like looking back after hearing about the Anunnaki theory through Mark Passio, I
Mhm.
was like, "Oh, maybe that's what he meant by like Jesus Christ," because he was basically going through how it was all metaphors and all that stuff, and about our ancient past, our ancient. They wouldn't be called. They'd basically be like the giants, the Nephilim,
Yeah.
all of them, who
Exactly.
our ancient ancestors are.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's really interesting. I find all that really interesting because yeah, the whole Adam and Eve story, it's very like broad. It's not
Yeah.
much detail with it.
It's like a child story, and people take it as literal. It's like the Bible itself is the book of stories, and people it's book of allegories, and people take it literally. That's the problem with religious
Yeah,
people is that they can't separate the Bible from the allegories to what the actual meaning of these stories mean. They take it as literal, and that's where the confusion and the brainwashing comes in. Um, a thing that like really like kind of woke me up to like their religion is it's like how certain first of all there's numbers all over the Bible. Like there's tons of numbers. There's even the fourth book in the Bible is literally called Numbers.
yeah,
um Ephesians 5 through 9 talks about slaves obey your master. In numerology or gematria, the number 59 has to do with slavery and you know um, black people and stuff like that. So it's like you start to learn these type of small hitting messages in the Bible, and you're like, okay, something's off about this stuff. You know what I mean? But I will say the Bible is a great book to if you're trying to like become more spiritual, it's a great stepping stone to becoming spiritually enlightened,
Oh
and
yeah,
you use it to gain that Holy Spirit. Because I believe in the Holy Spirit. I believe that's like a real thing, and it's a matter of understanding that the Holy Spirit is within all of us. And
yeah,
if you choose to vibrate on that frequency,
yeah,
you will be in the divine spirit, right? Um, so I take it like that, and the other thing, treat people how you want to be treated, just these are things that you can take away from the Bible and use in your life and can be good. But it's bad when you got people on the street, like let's say New York City, right? There's people on the street with megaphones screaming, "Oh, you're gonna burn in hell if you do X, Y, and Z. If you don't commit your life to Jesus." Like that's when it gets ridiculous. It's like, come on now. You're gonna tell people if they don't believe in Jesus, they're gonna burn in hell. So what about the other religions? What about the people who believe in the Prophet Muhammad? What about the Buddhists? What about all these other religions? Are they wrong and Christianity is their only right thing? So it's like a big like brainwashing, and it's a division of people. They use religion to divide people. The four Abrahamic religions are all used to bring about the next world war, and that's what the Jesuits want. And these people who the Freemasons, they all want religion to be a staple in the world because they can use it to conquer and divide. Um, and I think if people just use religion as just a stepping stone to enlightenment, it will go a long way and help people wake up to the brainwashing.
yeah, yeah. I totally agree. Yeah, it's sad, man, because people don't want to learn about these things, no matter what the starting point is. Typically, I'm hit with, I don't have time for it. That's always what people say. But it's like the gym. It's like you could say you don't have time for the gym, but um, there's other stuff that you'd probably make time for, like maybe watching a movie, playing video games, or masturbation, or watching porn, or whatever it might be. I mean, people
Yeah.
are right. Like we make time for things that we really want to do, but
Hmm.
when it comes to the truth, I mean, it's not that I wanted to, or like I was like conscious about, well, I'm just making time for it. I just was a combination of me being young. I had nothing else to do. I was at a point in my life where all my friends left for college. Like I was just alone in the town I grew up in. I didn't really have much people to hang out with. It was just like the
Hmm.
timing of it, my curiosity, kind of like yours. It's like it was the curiosity. It's like, well, what else is out there?
Right. Right.
And it was like entertainment. I think I told you at first. I would get really high and just watch it. I used to find it very entertaining, and
Hmm.
I would take breaks because like I would see the truth in what they're saying, especially like when I would live my day to day life. I'd go to work and all that stuff. And, like I would
Yeah.
completely see what these guys were saying, like with the symbolism, for example, like the Freemasonic symbols that's everywhere and on corporate logos. Like I literally saw it everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah. The checkerboard floors,
Yeah,
all that
that,
stuff.
yeah.
Yeah.
In celebrity music videos, like you could just watch it and you could point out at least one thing that's like
Hmm.
blatantly obvious. But yeah, I don't know. It's like people will say then too, like they don't have time, but then what value is it gonna bring me? Because
Right.
they always attest it to money, right? Well, it's not gonna bring me anything financially.
Right.
So what's the point? It's not going to bring me any value. Like it's not going to change my life. That's what people say, and it's just like I don't know what to tell them or how to say how wrong they are about it.
Hmm.
Like it's very ignorant. It's almost like it's immature.
Right.
But and it's like if I were to tell them that that's a wrong way of thinking, it's like I know they're going to probably get offended by it.
Hmm.
Because what they're essentially telling me is I'm comfortable with where I'm at, and I don't want to get uncomfortable. That's like
Right.
really what they're telling me, and it's not to say I'm better than you or anything. It's just like I don't know like what I can do for these people. It's like I don't know how much more people could feel it on a personal level, especially in your wallet. That's just like the smallest example that we're all feeling so much right now is
Hmm.
is finances.
Yeah. Yeah.
My local bagel shops here, right? I'm seeing signs have to raise prices for eggs.
I know.
Hey, I thought Donald Trump was in office. I thought things were going to change.
Right.
Yeah, there we go, man.
Yeah, eggs are like doubled now. As soon as he
Yeah.
got in
So
office.
yeah. So anyway, my point was what I'm saying is it's a real shame that more people, especially in our age bracket, don't want to like have these conversations or have a willingness to learn. Or and I don't know, maybe it's a issueness with being humble, because like people will tell me in person if they see me, like they like what I say or like they keep up with it, but like no one ever like messages me like asking me anything ever,
I know, same, bro.
being like, hey, what do you think about this or that? Unless like someone's really good friends with me, maybe people don't feel comfortable, but like
Right.
I don't know, you would just think that because again we're at a point, as I was saying earlier in this, where people are asking questions, especially since after COVID, and people are seeing just like how weird politics is getting, and the celebrities that obviously we've been talking, Truth's been talking about for years about
Hmm.
how they're just pawns in the game as well,
Right.
and the people are realizing this, and it's just like it's not enough to just realize it, because I think another thing too is people think, oh well, I realize it, so I'm good. It's like, no, it's like until we all realize this and seriously come together somehow, some way, and just understand the simple matter is the truth. You can still live your life. You can still do what you want. It's just, but we got to change the way we're viewing each other, we're viewing the world, and understand that we're wrong. Just it's okay. We're wrong. We got lied to. We got
Hmm.
duped. But I don't know. I think people just aren't humble enough, or maybe there's a different word for it. They don't have the integrity to see it or understand it. And even if they do, they wouldn't admit that they're wrong. So
Yeah.
I oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, like you're saying, a lot of people just have like an ego about them. It's like they don't want to admit that they've been bamboozled or they've been duped and they haven't figured out, that they've been tricked. And for me or you to come around and tell them, hey, like, you've been fooled and lied to. Their egos, because
Yeah, it turns into who are you? Because
exactly.
again, financial, right? I'm not a millionaire, something like that. So
Right. And bro, just from like my personal life, I'll give you an example. It's like I went to school with a lot of white kids, and like I was in special ed classes growing up. I didn't
yeah,
need to
me
be
too.
in it. Yeah, I didn't mean to be in it, but like I was in it. A long story short, but it was it was like a lot of kids looked at me like, oh, like what does this kid know? Now that I bring like all this information and this truth seeker knowledge, people like look at me like, oh, what this kid thinks he's smarter than me and this and that. So it's like there's an ego to people, and I know it, because people have told me like out in person, like, oh, like people like make group chats talking about the stuff you post and all this stuff like that. I'm like, yeah, I don't really care, because at the end of the day, I'm exposing something that's really happening, and these people are just debating with each other that, oh, is he lying or is he bullshit BSing or whatever. So I'm like, I don't really care what they say. At the end of the day, like, I know what I'm talking about is the truth, and if you want to acknowledge it, cool. If you don't, then that's on you. But you can never say like I didn't speak the truth. So it's just like, again, people's ego. Like they don't want to. Like you were saying earlier, like it's like something in their mind that's telling them like they're comfortable, and then I come with this information that's like groundbreaking, and it like breaks through their paradigm. This is something they just can't accept, because they think they're smarter, they think they're better, or they think what they've been taught throughout the years is more, I don't know, trustworthy or whatever it is. That's what's going on with a lot of
Well,
people.
they know too that if they do accept, if they look into it, let's say, and they realize it's true and they accept it's true, that means that they're gonna have to change. And
Exactly.
again, it's all very hard to do, but it just sucks because we don't have to live life the way we are now. And again, I'm just feeling these things, not just financially, but personally with how divided we are because I don't have that many friends.
Yeah.
I can go a long time without seeing people in person at least. I through a screen, yeah, I talk to people, but
Yeah.
daily basis, but in person, not too much.
Right. Yeah. Same. Honestly, like I saw something on Facebook. It was saying how like kids from the age ranges of 18 to 25, like I think they said like what 70% of them have never asked a girl out on in person.
Yeah,
You know.
I saw that. Yeah, I saw that. No,
Yeah.
dude, that makes sense. I'm not surprised to hear that at
It
all.
definitely makes sense.
Because you know the new thing is now, bro. A lot of these, both men and women, are graduating. I would say mainly guys, though, probably are graduating high school and shit, without having a girlfriend or anything like that, like
Mm,
first kiss, stuff like that.
right. Yeah.
Like my cousin, for example, who's 10 years younger than us. He's 17, and he's a senior in high school, and he's like tall kid, right? He's like 6'3".
Hmm.
He got that he got the height and all that, and that's a different story though. But anyway, it's like I asked him. I remember when I saw him, like at Christmas, like, "Have you had a girlfriend?" He said no. I was really surprised to hear that.
Yeah.
But at this, I was surprised because like he's like a tall kid, nice looking and all that. But at the same time,
Hmm.
I wasn't, just because he's from that generation,
Yeah. Yeah. I
Shows some.
mean, he's got the cheat code, man. If you're tall and like decent looking, you can slay. Like, you can pull
Yeah.
a bunch of chicks just by being tall.
So again, I don't know if it's him or what, but
Yeah.
because again, even if you have all that, that's your foot in the door. It doesn't like
Yeah.
guarantee you anything necessarily. But like
Right.
my brother is 21, right? He's even taller than me. Like he's not
Mhm.
that tall, he's taller than me.
Yeah.
And even him, like he's had girlfriends right throughout high school. Like, but nothing like that serious. You know what I mean? Nothing.
Hmm.
He's never brought a girl over for dinner.
Yeah.
I've done that with girlfriends I had. He's never done anything like that. So
Hmm.
it's like, it's almost like his generation. And what I realized is like when he had girlfriends, it's almost like they did it just to do it, to have the title and have that experience. It's not
Yeah.
even like they really cared about each other that much.
Right. Yeah. I
And
think.
it's like, we did that too when we were kids. Like we would just kiss to kiss and have sex
Yeah.
to have sex at high school. But like, I don't know, it was just different. I feel like we were more risk takers.
Risk takers,
You
and
know what I
like,
mean?
bro, we were more sociable. Like, I remember going to parties, bro, and like, bro, nobody was on their cell phone at parties. Like, back in the day, it was like, yeah, you had a cell phone just to like call like your parents and like text your friends. Like you didn't have a cell phone to be on social media like scrolling and shit. You know what I mean? I like high school parties for me were like people were interacting, people were dancing, like it was a good time back then. And I went to Bergen Catholic and I went to Northern Highlands, two different schools. But Bergen Catholic all boys school, and so we had like, sister schools, all girls. But we
Holy
also had, wait, say that again?
Holy Angels.
Yeah, like Holy Angels, and the other one, there's another one too. And so we would party with those girls, and I would also go party with like Paramus Catholic, which was like co-ed. So Paramus Catholic was a little more like, I would say not ghetto, but it was a more like mixed group, like black, white. It was mixed. So those parties were like straight up dancing, like everybody's dancing. Like you if you don't have a girl dancing, like I don't know what you're doing because it was that easy. And bro, nobody was on their phones. Like I only pulled my phone out to get a girl's number. You know what I mean? Like that's the only time I ever pulled a phone out. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, but like you go to like parties now, like half of the people are like on their phone. You go to a club, half of the people are on their phone. Taking pictures, like just looking like bougie, but not actually enjoying the moment.
Yeah.
It's sad the way like society has turned, and I think that's why a lot of people aren't asking people out in person. um, that's why, like, for me, a little off topic, but I like to go to like house music events and like techno parties because those vibes are still like genuine. Like people go to those type of parties and clubs just to hear the music and be like in that atmosphere. Like no one's there for bottle service. No one's there to like look all nice and flex. Like nobody's there for that. Like so you get like a more genuine crowd and you get interactions. Like every time I go out to one of these events, I'm always like meeting people, just sparking up conversations, like, and it just feels like a better human experience. Like when I go to these type of environments, but you go to like a club in like Manhattan, like one of those big expensive clubs in Manhattan. It's all about bottle service. It's all about status, and it's so cheesy and lame that you can see how like AI is how people are turning more into AI when you hang out in that type of environment. You know, like you can have girls like take all these photos about how fun they had at the club, but then in reality, all they did was just sit there and just like post on their phone their bottle section. You know what I mean? Like, and guys do the same thing, but it's like it's so corny, you know, and I, it's just sad, honestly. I can't believe like we've allowed society to be this. It's like degrading so fast. And when I saw that stat about how many kids haven't asked a girl out in person, I'm like, damn, like I believe it, you know?
Yeah, because my social life has changed a lot since 2020.
Yeah,
Um, I haven't really asked a girl out much either in person in the past 5 years as compared to before. Before it was like always like meeting girls in person through friends, all that stuff.
yeah,
It was like through friends. That was the main way I would meet girls or just like going out with my friends. But
yeah,
now it's like, my friend, the amount of friends I've had has slowed down. I don't have as many, that's one, but two, it's like, I don't really know. There's just been this shift in society, and it does have to do with the phone, social media, technology,
yeah,
and all that stuff. But it's also it's made all of us very socially awkward
yeah,
and
yeah,
not willing to interact. I mean, some people, especially guys, more so, like are so awkward that like they don't really go out. Like they can't bear a conversation
yeah,
because too much in them.
right.
And it really sucks for women. And like you talk about fakeness. I mean, for them, it's so fake, especially like the girls that are, especially when they're young in their 20s and all that stuff. It's like constantly commenting on their friends' stuff, reposting their friends' stuff, and
Yeah,
doing all these things that really what it all is for is so that they get the favor returned for them. It's like they're commenting these things, they're reposting, they're liking, and all this stuff.
hmm,
And it's not because they really like it. Maybe they do, but it's so that they can get the favor return. Or if they don't,
yeah,
their friend is going to be like, "Oh, you didn't like my post," or "What's going on?" So it's
yeah,
for
yeah,
women, it's just so fake. It's not even funny how fake it is. I mean, actually, I should say it is. It's so fake that it is funny because people participate in it, and
yeah.
so
It's like attention seeking.
right, and people willingly participate in this. And when
Hmm.
it comes to the modern day woman, it's like they're more afraid of the judgment of their friends, who are female, of their family who are female than the guys, because
Right.
guys aren't shit to them because again, a girl can download Tinder, or she'll swipe and she can get matches, all that. So for women, like getting at the opposite sex really is nothing. It's really hard for guys to
Yeah.
get
Tell me
the
about it.
opposite sex.
Yeah. Tell me about it.
Right. So it's created this really big divide. Do you know who Homath is? By any chance, have you heard of that guy?
Mm-hmm.
No. Okay, so he's, I guess, what you would call red pill or whatever. There's this chart he has. I want to see if I have it on my computer here. I might not.
Hmm.
I could pull it up, but he shows like and it's like a chart that depicts it really well. Give me 1 second. No, I don't have it on my computer. Um, all right, it's all right. But anyway, I'll just like I could just explain it. Really, how it is let's just say you have two columns, right, of men and women, and there's at the top is the top rating of attractiveness. So the top being the tens, all the way down is to one, right?
Hmm.
Essentially, what's going on with the guy side is all the women are just going for the top guys, which you would be what you would rate an 8 and above. Like all that's like where all the women are going, basically.
Yeah.
and then so you just have a bottom like 70 to 80% of guys that are invisible. And this is actually true that women find 80% of men unattractive. So it makes sense why the chart looked that way.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, that's basically he dubs it because of feminism and all this stuff. Because he's the type of guy that thinks women should have less rights and all these things, which I get why like a lot of guys again would go to that route if they should have less rights.
Yeah, it's crazy.
But really, it's just social engineering, it's social conditioning. That's really all it is.
Yeah.
Um, and let's just say you didn't have social conditioning, like you just have an even playing field. Like let's say a guy who's a 5 out of 10 would probably actually attract a girl who's a 5 out of 10, but a
Hmm.
girl who's a 5 out of 10 is going for guys who are 7, 8s, 9s.
Right. Especially
And
with
she's not
social media days.
exactly. That's why they're like that.
Yeah.
It's television is one thing, but social media, I mean, it's completely exacerbated.
Yeah.
Everyone's let's not even just say women, guys too. Seeing
Yeah.
all ass, titties, and all that.
I know. Tell me about it.
So it's a real big mess,
Yeah.
really is.
Yeah.
And I think what's sad too, not to be negative, but I think the damage has been done, man. Like we're 28. Um, a lot of us have been on social media since we were in middle school, and a lot of people aren't aware of truth the way we are, and the damage is done. I think they're too deep into it now to where there's probably no coming back. If someone's young in their early 20s, like under 25, let's say, like there's still some hope. But man, if you're pushing 30 and like you've never understood, even and you've heard us talking, like you don't even understand a fraction of it, like you're in big trouble
Yeah.
psychologically, psychologically, because this is really damaging us,
Yeah.
on psychological and spiritual level, and it's leading to physical damage because
Yeah.
we're very immobile now.
Yeah. Yeah.
So anyway, I don't mean to go on a rant, but yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. A lot of people our age, if they haven't like woken up already or starting to wake up, they're kind of. I'm not saying it's too late, but it is like pushing on the verge. Like, I feel like when you're in your 30s, that's like your time to figure out life. Like you should be mature enough to understand things and how the world works, and any information that gets presented to you, you should have the brain power to not reject it and just to analyze it and see if you want to keep that information or not. Like listen to whatever people have to say. I think that's the maturity, being able to listen. A lot of people like who are young, they don't have comprehension skills. They can't listen, they can't comprehend. But as you
Yeah.
get older, you start to comprehend things. You should comprehend things. Not that everyone does, but you should be able to comprehend things a little bit better and to understand how information works. Um, but a lot of it also has to do with like your diet. It has to do with things you're putting into your body, your mind. Think about like how many people are eating Taco Bell, right? You see this Taco Bell shit. Think about how many people are eating Taco Bell each day, who are watching, corn each day, who are playing video games until their brain rots. Like all these things, not getting sleep. All these things contribute to like your mental health and how you interpret and how your intellectual being is made. Like if you don't have discernment by the time you're 30, there's something that you're doing in your daily life that is causing that to lack. Like I said, either it's your diet, your habits, your sleep schedule. Your intellectual power should be at an all-time high by the time you hit 30 and 40. And I think today's generation of like 30 and 40-year-olds, it's not really there because think about how many 30 and 40-year-olds are like deeply caught up in the matrix. And like, yeah, you can say like, it's been like that since they were a kid, whatever. But I feel like, man, if you're 40, if you're in mid 30s, you should have life kind of figured out. Like you should know. I'm not saying you should know the stuff that we know, but you should kind of be like, all right, government's kind of shitty. I wouldn't trust them with my life. You know what I mean? Like, think about back in the day when JFK got assassinated. I think they said like what, more than half of the country back then believed that was an inside job. Like it was a he was killed by the government. So it's like if people back then like were intelligent to believe like a president was murdered by their own government, I think today's generation people should be able to be smarter than that too, to realize that okay, 9/11 was probably done by our government. But you ask still people on the street, I guarantee you ask 10 people right on this Manhattan street if 9/11 was an inside job, they'll look at you crazy. They'll be like, what are you talking about? Maybe one out of like 20 people would be like, yeah, I think it was an inside job. You know what I mean? Like very few people today, and I would say in the last like 20 years, are awake to like the nonsense that's happening. Again, back when JFK got assassinated, that time was also Vietnam War, and a lot of people in this country were against the Vietnam War. They were against all war. Like that's kind of what the Democratic Party was about back in the day. It was like no war. You know, we're not for any of that violence and stuff. So people were awake back in those days. You know, there wasn't much like polluting of the mind back then. Like yeah, they were polluting people other ways, but like now you have all these like you know these trash fast food and this candy and all this junk and porn and all this stuff is like destroying people's minds. I think we've gotten weaker as a society. Look at the average male, like they're so weak and a beta male. Like I go to the gym because I'm trying to stay an alpha male, you know, and I'm trying to build up testosterone. But a lot of like young guys, they're like so frail and they just give off beta energy. That's also why we're seeing so much, homosexuality happening. You know, a lot of people are confused about their um their
It got so
sexuality.
big in just the past 5 years. It's like homosexuality exploded. Like
Yeah,
so
like
much.
yeah, dude, like almost like 70% of like New York City is like gay. Like I would say more than half of New York City is gay. Like it's like crazy. So it's like, I'm not against anybody who's gay, but it's like at the end of the day, it was never this many gay people or
Yeah, I think it's
bisexual
from
people.
the pharmaceutical medication, right? That's like altering the testosterone, that, like not only like in their body, but also their brain chemistry, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I would say it's
Because
like
doesn't it
pharmaceutical.
replicate, doesn't it replicate like crystal meth, kind of like what that does in a way?
I'm sure
It's
it
like
does. Yeah, I would say a lot of it has to do with pharmaceutical and like the food industry, what they're putting in the food, what they're putting in the water, what they're putting in the air. It's like pollution on that level, and then also just like the conditioning of like, let's say for example, how like the Catholic priest, how like they're known to like molest little boys and stuff like that, right? Like a lot of those people or the victims who were like molested as kids, they grow up to like liking that pleasure of a homosexual act. So it's like how many people are actually just engaging in homosexuality just because they want to try something new, and then later on in life they're like, you know what, I think I like this. But from the start it never could have been that. They just did it because everyone else is doing it, or peer pressure, you know what I mean? So again, it goes back to like beta male energy, because like for me as an alpha male, I don't have a gay bone in my body, and again, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with being gay. I think real gay people are actually born gay, but I think there's also a mix of people who weren't born gay and they're just like trying things out because everybody else is doing it. I know quite a few females who I know they're not gay, but they're in gay relationships, and I'm like, yo, like you're not gay. I know some females who are literally not
do it
gay.
to be cute.
Yeah, they're doing it to be cute, or they just had bad luck with men, and they're like, you know what, I'm just gonna try women. Like I know quite a few females who are like that.
Yeah, yeah. Or they're just really hot that like they just feel like men are too easy. I've noticed that too. Some lesbians or whatever are like, bisexual girls are like really hot, and I'm always like, my theory is just because they view men as too easy.
I wouldn't be surprised, honestly. But
But but
yeah,
yeah,
man.
what you're saying, yeah, that obviously has been a big agenda, and that's a whole rabbit hole discussion on its own. Is the feminization of the modern man, and it's been going on for a long time, and
Yeah,
you're seeing the repercussions of it. Obviously, feminism has to do with it, and making the women the more masculine one because the men follow. So
yeah. It's
uh,
population controlled.
right, yeah, and we're seeing that. We're totally seeing that right now. Again, with
Hmm.
most people our age not being married, not even being in relationships, and obviously not having kids, all that
Yeah.
stuff. So
Yeah, and then how expensive they made it to have a kid and to
yeah,
live. Like nobody wants to start a family anymore.
yeah,
It's all
right,
population control.
yeah. So they've done a good job of dividing us. I'll give them that.
Yeah.
As much as I don't like what they've done, or I don't appreciate what they've done. Of course, I don't agree with it. I got to hand it to them that they've done a great job at dividing people. And like I said really early in this, is like I feel like humanity has a lot of work to do in order for us to make any real change. I
Yeah.
don't know what's going to end up happening in the future. It's anything could really happen at this point. So yeah, I just feel like we're just gonna. I feel like in 2025 we're gonna see a lot of AI, all that stuff. Probably a lot of wacky, weird stuff. I'm sure stuff in the Middle East is gonna get really crazy.
Hmm.
But I'm eager to see what's gonna happen because, especially with the dollar and finance, because I'm like, what is gonna happen with this? Like, are they just gonna completely price us all out until this whole thing just comes crashing down? Like, I'm very curious and eager to see where things go.
Yeah, it seems like crypto is going to be the new thing. I already see crypto commercials being promoted, and you know, only people who aren't hip to crypto are older people. So like, it's just a matter of time before the younger generation accepts crypto as the new currency. You know, um, and that's scary because again, crypto it can be manipulated. And the fact that everybody's money is tracked, I don't like that at all.
Yeah, and we're seeing the digital ID stuff with money being, spoken about by Trump and Musk, of course, all that
Hmm.
stuff.
Right.
So again, it's like what we've been talking about is like conservatives really got to wake up because they're the ones getting played right now. They're the jokes right now. They've been the joke ever since October 7th, 2023. But to be more like, I guess, in modern days, like really ever since the Trump assassination, like
Yeah.
we've seen this complete red shift, and now it's Trump can't do any wrong. So Trump really worked his MAGA magic, and
Yeah.
now it's like they're just on board with what he does, and just because it's not coming from Democrats and all that, people trust it.
Yeah.
The average intellect who's like maybe peek their head down the rabbit hole of conspiracies, but doesn't go all the way.
Yeah.
They're gonna trust it.
Yeah. And for people who believe that Trump assassination, I'm like, yo, you're out of your cop picking mind if you think that was real. I mean, there's a lot of people who are stuck in the matrix and the theater of politics, but come on, man, that was such a hoax. Like it was not even funny. Like the guy who comes from Hollywood, basically acting out a Hollywood scene. Like, come on. Um,
And
yeah,
what's
and,
funny, they didn't even like try to make it look really that legit. Honestly,
yeah,
the whole story, everything behind it,
yeah.
uh, the way he took that picture. I mean,
And his ear was fine after like 3 days. He took some
yeah,
patch off. There's nothing on his ear. There's no scratch, no scar, no nothing. I'm like, come
yes,
on, bro. You guys are crazy. But
yeah,
then it goes back to like the dumbing down of society. A lot of people don't have discernment to see with their eyes. And it's quite a shame. And like you said, MAGA magic. It's so true because MAGA is the highest degree of the Church of Satan.
yeah.
So they're definitely using some type of witchcraft on people to manipulate their mind like that.
yeah, we're in serious times right now, and I don't know. Again, like I don't know what's gonna happen, but it's really driving me crazy, especially the fact that I have no one else really to talk about this with.
Yeah.
It's like I have to resort to online communities and whatnot
Right. Mhm.
to to find people or whatever of like mind. But
Yeah.
yeah, and it's like even if you do, it's always either some sort of religious rabbit hole or Donald Trump rabbit hole that they go down.
Yeah. Trust me, man.
So
I feel you.
yeah, so I don't really know what the solution is. I mean, because people always say, "What do we do? What do we do?" Well, all I can say is like, just please try to like understand these things. Like, you're gonna have to. It's gonna take time. That's the thing. It's like I
Yeah.
can't just you can't just understand it and me explaining it to you or anything like that. You're never gonna really understand it until you actually seek it out yourself.
Right.
Um, so yeah,
Yeah. I think, like you said,
yeah,
the solution is to seek it out yourself. And people need to just do their own investigative work and to see where, like, see things that they believe and see if it's faulty or not. Is your religion faulty? Is the community that you were raised in, is it faulty? Was there lies and manipulation in your community?
yeah,
um, like, I have a lot of, like, small cap friends who, they believe their community can't do no wrong, but they don't realize that their community is controlled by the Catholic Church. It's not a sovereign nation. Israel was not created to be a sovereign place. It was created by the Catholic Church. Hitler sent 60 to 70,000 Jews to the land of Palestine back in World War II to start Israel. Why is that? The guy who they hate so much just allowed 70,000 of them to just go to a place and start a whole country. Come on now. Like, you gotta question your group. Question your community. These are things that don't get mentioned in their community. And it goes across the board with every community. You have to question the things that you've been brought on to believe. So I think when people start doing that and they come to truth and come to terms about what the truth is, then we're going to see a mass awakening happen.
yeah, yeah. And the thing is, the problem, like as I was saying earlier, is a lot of people just say the excuse of they don't have time or they just don't seem to see a benefit, I guess, in going down the rabbit holes, or to their words, I guess you could say it's a benefit. So yeah, I don't know. Until people, I mean, I guess what can we do on a community level? I want to bring this up to you. Is like, is it worth going to one of these community board meetings? I guess you would call them. Like they probably happen like once a month in every town, I would guess.
Yeah.
Like in the municipality center or whatever. So
Uh-huh.
there's actually one from my town on Wednesday,
Hmm.
and I thought about going to it because it's just like it's something the public could sit in.
Yeah. Right. Do they
Um,
allow you to bring up your own conversations and topics, or is it kind of like they
it
give
does
you?
say that in the agenda that's drawn out. It does say like concerns from the public or questions from the public, all that. I wouldn't say
Right.
anything crazy, of course, or anything like
Right.
conspiratorial necessarily,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
I
Unless.
mean, I guess the best you could do is do something in the community level because you can't really do much on the federal or state even right now at least,
Yeah.
especially me and you because no, like I said, we're no one, right? We're not millionaires, so
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I do believe, like, interacting with your community is a good thing, because that's, at the end of the day, that's how we're going to take back control of the world and our power, is being able to talk to your neighbor and have trust within your neighborhood. That's how villages and cities were first made. When people relied on each other to create, uh, a livable, situation. Um, but we live in a world today where we're dependent on the government. We're dependent on these big corporations to feed us, to house us, to give us everything. So I think, communicating with your neighbor is, like, the first step to breaking out of this matrix and giving liberation to the people here in the United States.
Yeah, my literal neighbor right here, the guy who lives next to me, knows a lot about truth, and
Hmm.
very smart guy. He's much older,
Yeah,
in his 70s, and
nice.
but he's very big down that Christian rabbit hole, and um, believes in Donald Trump, all that stuff.
Oh God, you
You
should
know,
tell them about the Church of Satan and MAGA.
yeah, he seems to like he doesn't seem to see anything wrong with Israel and all that stuff. So
Yeah. You'd be like, yo, like Donald Trump is literally from the Church of Satan, bro. Like,
yes,
how are you a Christian, but you support the guy who's literally the most satanic president there ever was?
yeah, and he supports Israel, and not
Yeah,
to get political and be like, oh my God, let's support Israel and Palestine, pick a side. No, it's just like,
right.
if you're picking a side, or and I get it because he's like, oh well, I read the Quran. He went on a rant about how he read the Quran, and they
Hmm.
have apparently they want to kill Jews and all this stuff.
Yeah,
Um,
well, the Bible wants to enslave black people, so I mean, it's no real difference.
yeah, so I mean, that's the thing. It's people who I run across a lot, especially in person. Like they always go down some sort of weird rabbit hole. There was a dude I might have told you about him I ended up going to his house. I met him like when I first moved here. I haven't seen him in a long time, but
Hmm.
I only hung out with him once. But I went to his house. He had the Confederate flag hung up in his room, and I was like, "Oh, this kid's far right." We got along a little at first because I said I didn't take the vaccine. He didn't take the vaccine, so we
Yeah,
got along because of that. But I didn't like get to ask him much further questions really. But yeah, man, it's weird. Funny enough, I live right near the town, Oxford, Jersey, where the KKK was founded.
really.
Yeah, it's like right next to where I live,
What's the name of the town?
Oxford, New Jersey.
Wow, I never heard of that. That's crazy. Yeah, I
Yeah, it's
mean, yeah, New Jersey is definitely pretty racist, though. But yeah, it's
I would say the area I live in. Yeah,
yeah, and it's crazy how you said that kid. He's like, far right, and he didn't take the vaccine. But Donald Trump is literally the father of the jab. Like, that's the one thing about I don't understand about these Trump people. Is like
they say
Donald
there's
Trump.
different. They say there's two different ones. That's why they say there's Trump vaccine and then there's the Biden vaccine or something like
That's crazy.
that.
that
Yeah.
that right there
You
is
haven't heard that, bro? They have all excuses, man. It's crazy.
yeah.
It's really insane, actually.
See, that's MAGA magic right there. There it
Yeah.
is. That's
That he
crazy.
or dude, it's either that or they say, oh, he didn't know. They fooled him. They tricked him. He had people working against him from the inside.
These people think Trump is not a part of the whole system is crazy, man.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
absolutely
it
crazy.
just goes to show they can't imagine a world without politics. They really think politics is real.
Yeah. And like, I wouldn't say I'm against politics, but it's like this current political system, no. It's a complete fraud. Like, you know what they need to do? They need to go back to the council days where you have members of a council that come together and make decisions by a committee, and it's majority vote. That will be a way better political system than this two party, two wings on the same bird system.
Yeah.
But we're never gonna get a majority vote wins political system because they don't want it to be that way. It's like imagine if we had. I remember like I think J Cole, the rapper J Cole. I think he had a lyric in a song about how what if we can like uh vote on our phones where we want our taxes to be, and it's like a popularity vote. It's like you have an app and it says, okay, how many dollars do you want your taxes to go to like schools, and everybody can vote on their phone. Like that just like made me think like, yo, it should be like that. You know what I mean? Like you should be able to vote.
there's much better things we can be doing than now. It's just
Yeah,
everyone's too busy, right? Everyone's too busy and caught up, and not. It's not even just that they're busy and caught up and distracted. It's just that people don't think about these things. It doesn't cross their mind ever
right.
to
They
change.
don't think anything's wrong. That's the problem.
And that, yeah, exactly. They don't see anything wrong.
Hmm.
They don't know they're enslaved. You try to tell them they're enslaved, they get mad. You know.
I know. It's like, bro, we are all in a slaughterhouse and we're getting lined up each day.
Yeah, and people think because it's not physical that we're not nothing bad is happening or there's not a war going on.
Yeah,
There's been a war going on for a while. It's the government against the people. It's a silent war. It's a psychological war.
yeah,
That's what it is. And
yeah.
I mean, until people could realize that, because at this point it's extremely obvious. They don't need to hide it, and I think that they love the fact they don't need to hide it. That they've dumbed people down so much, and they've made people be able to see the problem and just be like, oh, whatever, I'm
Right.
cool with it, you know.
It's like
So
witchcraft, bro. It's
yeah,
witchcraft.
yeah, it's like watch all these months are gonna go by, everything's gonna get more and more expensive, and these MAGA people are still gonna trust the plan, just trust the plan, man.
Yeah,
You know,
trust in Donnie.
yeah, trust in Donnie Boy Trump.
They love Trump, bro.
Yeah, so,
People, it's crazy. I've never seen so many people like fanned out over one celebrity. Like it's crazy. I've never witnessed anything like this before.
yeah, I mean, it's crazy how much the momentum has shifted towards him, and
Yeah,
how it's like everyone hated him and now everyone loves him.
and bro, it's that magic, man. It's that dark magic that they're using on people.
Yeah, you see it and you feel it.
Yeah, like
Ever
see
since
that.
ever since that assassination.
Yeah, see that shit don't work on people like me and you because we're our minds are out of that. Our spirit is already away from that, you know. But when you have a spirit that's still, committing sin, that's still in the matrix, that's still like not living up to its potential, you're easily manipulated. You're easily fooled, you know. And that's what a lot of people in America are. They're easily fooled because their spirit, they're not right with their spirit, you know. For me, nothing can turn my spirit away from the truth and what I feel, and I know that because I have a sense of who I am, and that's the problem with America is that we don't know who we are. A lot of people in America think we're the good guys. They think America is the good country, the country where you can live in peace. But only reason why it's like that is because we're bombing every other country. All these innocent people in the Middle East are getting bombed by drones. Not even men coming on foot. It's like drones are bombing people randomly, and
Yeah,
and we're not talking about that here in America. We don't talk about what evil we've done in the Middle East. How they sent the military in there and killed a bunch of innocent women and children just because they wanted resources on that land. And
yeah,
that's why we're seeing so many veterans homeless, and they're mentally out of it because they're traumatized from what happened. Like they were sent into a war zone and they just killed innocent people for no reason, just because they were either on some type of MK Ultra or some drugs or whatever they were on. They were manipulated to just kill, and they were trained to kill. And now all these nightmares are coming back to them, and the veterans are all jacked up. They're some
yeah,
of the worst people you see on the street. So it's crazy how they've manipulated our country, the people in this country to believe that we're the good guys and we're doing this for a good cause. Um, you ever watch the show One Piece, that anime?
I don't believe so, no.
So anime is really cool because like it's like people don't realize anime has the deepest storylines. Like it's cartoons, but the storylines are crazy. Like they make you really think. And that's why I love Japanese culture because they're like so far ahead of us in America. Like you watch American cartoons, they're like pointless. They have no real meaning to it. But anime, it's crazy because in this show One Piece, it's basically, long story short, it's basically about like pirates and like how pirates are chasing freedom because they're living under the tyranny of the world government. Like the whole world lives under this world government, which is called the Marines. And basically the Marines are basically like the United States. Like they're just a big bully who just abuses their power, and they commit crime in the act of justice. You know, they kill people in the act of justice. So pirates are set out on this mission to just rebel against, the Marines. But most pirates in this story, they're bad. They're evil, they're criminals. But then you have like a small niche of like pirates who are like good people who actually want to like liberate the world from the tyranny. So long story short, like the main character, he's like this guy who can connect with like everybody. Like he can make his enemies become his partners, and he can like bring people together. So the show is like really interesting, and it just depicts how like the government is controlled by a group of evil people of world nobles. So they call them celestial dragons. These are like people who think they're gods, and they live on like this like top island where like they're like the gods of the world, and they control the world government, aka the navy. And at the end of the day, they're just scumbags. Like they're all fat, like out of shape scumbags. Like they think like they own the place. They're like, oh, you peasants can't breathe the same air as me, and they literally have the authority to kill people if they want, and the world government protects them because that's who they're chosen to be. So it's just crazy how like this cartoon depicts all of this in the show. And one crazy thing they depicted in the recent episodes was that the world government is supposed to be a union of like 20 ancient families that started the world government, and all ancient families, they uh they were in unison with one another to basically have equal power of the world. Like they all share equal power, and none of them sit above one another. It's like the equal ranks. But in the latest episodes, they showed how there's actually a one person that sits above all of them, and it's like this like demonic like ancient like being. It's like an anonymous like being that they haven't like really talked about too much yet, but they showed like the whole world government is basically ran by this one demonic entity. So it's
Yeah.
like crazy how like they're kind of putting the truth in plain sight in these like TV
Yeah.
shows and stuff. And
Oh
I
yeah.
and
There's
I
a lot of different movies, shows, whatever, that have that kind of scenario that you just described.
hmm
What I
yeah,
mean,
and it's like
in different ways. Yeah.
right, and it's like it's honestly not too far from the truth in my opinion.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know?
And a lot of the people that I would watch always pointed out as, oh, that's the Antichrist. Like that's what they're depicting. That's Satan.
Mhm. Right,
Which it's
right.
true. I think it's true for sure. Is it the literal truth? Maybe not, but it's definitely it's signifying for sure an Antichrist figure. And yeah,
hmm
is it Satan? Probably, because that's the God that they, or I shouldn't even say that they worship. That's just the religion that they believe in. That's their
Yeah.
practice.
Right, right.
But but yeah, I get it, man. And there's probably going to be a leader of the New World Order. I used to always think it would be Barack Obama, but I could be wrong. It might not even be a human. Maybe it's just going to be AI is the leader. Who knows? But
Hey, the Matrix basically told us that's what it is. That movie.
yeah, yeah,
you know.
1984. Yeah, so
Yeah.
they've all depicted some sort of deity or sometimes just technology itself being like government and being in charge. So we'll
Right.
see. Oh, right there, West 33rd Freemasons. So
Wow. That what a find.
yeah. Yeah, my friend. Well, this has been a really good conversation, man. I am getting really tired, unfortunately, but
Me too.
if
Me
you're
too.
free either tomorrow night or Wednesday night, I am definitely free.
Yeah, yeah, we'll do this again soon.
Yeah,
Um
because I'll be
yeah,
more free. I'll be free earlier tomorrow if you are, and Wednesday too.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Whenever it works.
Cool.
Um All right, everyone, we're gonna end it there.
Yeah, guys, thanks if you stayed this long. We
Yeah,
appreciate.
whoever's listening, thank you for listening to us rant.
Yeah, our socials and email will be below, so please contact us.
Yes, sir. Take care, everyone.